In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use AI to build sites that look exactly like this. I mean, an agency would charge $15,000 to $20,000, and I built it with a couple of prompts in just a few minutes. You see, most people think AI web design is still trash. And I mean, they're not wrong. For the last 2 years, they have looked like absolute slop. Had the same layouts, the same colors, the same typography. I mean, you could spot it from a mile away. But something changed. Google dropped Gemini 3. And if you know the right prompts, able to give it the right context, it can create some of the most stunningly designed sites that I have ever seen. So I'm going to show you what I've been doing that's just been absolutely crushing it for me. Okay, so to start, you're going to probably need to find a tool to let you actually start coding. So there's a lot of different things. You can use Cursor. You can use things like Replit, V0, Lovable, but I personally kind of find that just using Gemini gets the job done. However, you'll see a little bit later that I do have an example that I'll walk you through that I used Replit to build with their design mode. But to start, Gemini does the best when it starts from a reference thing. So if I go to Gemini, I say, build me a nice landing page for my agency. First of all, it has zero context, right? So if I'm going to go here, I'm going to say, build me a nice landing page, and we'll let this build. It'll do a decent job, but it's not going to give you the exact sort of design elements and colors and styling that you want. That's going to really make it shine and make it look like that $15,000 agency came in and built it for you. So I went and made it, but as you can see, it looks, half decent, but it still has that purpley bluish hue, sort of just like the basic old, I like to call it just AI-ified Shadsian UI thing. It looks fine, but the reality is we don't want something like this because you know what? Every other sort of AI website thing is going to look like this. And that's because when you're coming into here, again, saying something like build me a nice landing page for my agency doesn't give enough context to the model to figure out exactly what you want. So the first thing that you can do is you can start to use styles. And this helps a lot. Like already, I took the exact same prompt, build a nice landing page for my agency, but then use the neo-brutalism style. So I'm sure you've seen the style before, and immediately it looks completely different. Like if I showed this to someone, they actually wouldn't think it's AI because it has such a distinct style. Now, is this the style that you want? That differs on sort of what you kind of are looking at. But immediately, by saying distinct styles, and you kind of start to notice this, whether it's fonts, whether it's color schemes, is you need to be a little bit more specific, right? You can't just go in here and just empty canvas like, please build me a landing page, because it's not going to understand the style. Again, Gemini is like your sort of creative director. It is very good at taking all of the sort of vast knowledge that it has around styles, but you have to kind of direct it in the way that you want. And so again, so this is what we had with build me a nice landing page, and then using a neo-brutalism style. Immediately, a very stark difference, okay? But we can do even better. And I find that this method actually gets me a way better result. And that's by giving it a source image. So I found that Gemini does really, really good when it has a set of sort of source images or a reference image. For some reason, just really good at reasoning through what's in the image. And there's a couple of ways you could do this. So one, there's a site called Dribble, and it has a bunch of design. And you can kind of look through here. I will say, in my experience, the issue I've had with sort of Dribble is that the designs are great, but they're not really realistic. They're a little bit sort of over the top, and they're made to be more fancy than actually practical. You can come in here and you can look at Dribble and you can start looking at some of the designs. And once you found one, you can start there. However, there is another site that I like. It's called Mobbin. Unfortunately, it is paid. The reason I like Mobbin is, first of all, it has existing landing pages of companies. So there's a lot of different companies you can look through here. And also, they make it really easy to kind of look at so I can view the sections. I can kind of copy some of these sections. I can see the full page. It's just really easy to kind of source it. But for now, what I did is I actually found another sort of landing page that someone actually made on X. So they said, can Gemini one-shot this design? And I looked at it and I thought, you know what, why not? Let's do it. So right off the bat, you'll notice when you're doing this sort of single source of images, you actually don't want to do this whole giant image. So for example, I took this. If you send this whole one, it gets Gemini has a little bit of difficulty being able to do this entirely and one-shotting it from one image. So what I actually like to do is I like to slice it. Here I said, can you clone this landing page? And it just has this section. And so we'll go ahead and open this, and you'll see not a bad first attempt at can you clone this, right? It has working codes, I think, and has some of these animations, which I was like, okay, great. And then the next thing I did is I actually sent each of these individual snippets one by one. And the reason I like to do this is because first, it gives you more control. So the more you break down and you iterate with the model, the better it's at kind of fixing what you wanted to ask. So instead of, again, asking it for the huge thing, giving it by little step by step, and then you can actually start to see here, it actually adds all of the sections reasons for me, why developers choose this, understanding every light, blah, 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 blah. Pretty good, right? So if I go back to the sort of source image, you have this, and then I have this. But let's just say I want to continually improve this, right? Let's say, you know what, this is a good pass. Here is where you start to look at the screenshots, but start to describe in more detail the specific elements that you want to change. So now, in my experience, I've noticed two things with Gemini is that it's very, very creative, but when it comes to becoming a little bit more of an engineer, it starts to sort of not be that good, if I'm going to be quite honest. So one of the workflows that I've adopted is sort of using Gemini 3 with Opus, Claude 4.5 Opus. And the reason is I feel like Opus is just better at being able to describe and understand things in detail and translate that into actual action. So here I have sort of this image, and what I've done is I have a new Claude tab open, and I took all of those screenshots. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to ask Claude to sort of try to describe in detail every screen. And I'm going to take that output and kind of put it back into Gemini 3. And you'll see the reason is that it's just the more detail and sort of specifics you give Gemini, the better it is, whether it's animations, whether it's colors, font styles. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am very bad at describing this. Like, I would look at this image and I would be like, how do you describe this? Like, is it a blue hue around? Like, I'm not good at that. Thankfully, Opus will do the job perfectly. So what I've done is I'm going to come into Opus here, got all my images, and you have to be sort of particular in how you prompt it. I like to say, I want you to be a design engineer. And then for each of the images, so I took all of them and I ordered them in the way that I wanted the landing page. Please describe the image in detail, include the colors, animations, shaders. And again, the idea here is that you want it to generate a description for each section. So that's, for example, it'll say something like, header or build your ship, build and ship your faster, whatever. So Opus is going to say for this section, here's the breakdown, and we're going to be able to copy paste that directly from Opus directly into Gemini 3. We don't want code here. We just want it to describe it in sort of as much detail as sort of it can, so that we can take that, give it to Gemini, and then let it have it. Okay, so now that it's actually still generating the prompt, if you actually just take this and you copy paste this whole prompt and you put it into Gemini, it's not going to do that good of a job, just because I've noticed that it's better to give it in discrete sections. So meaning, maybe not, you don't have to do one section at a time, but I'll do like section 1, section 2, copy it and sort of kind of pass it over to Gemini. Just because, again, I noticed that when it's trying to do all of these changes at once, it does kind of mess up a bit. But you can see how in depth this landing, like, I don't really feel like anyone can actually write out this much sort of detail. I would even say that this is maybe a bit too much detail, but I'm going to put it into Gemini and see how it does. But again, like, very in-depth colors. And again, this is the other important part, right? You want consistency in your design. So Gemini, actually, I didn't even ask for it, but it gave me a global design system so that I can copy this. And from every single instance forward for my landing page, if I'm coding it, I know that the model will generate, like, very consistent. I'm not going to have different colors, and it's going to look very cohesive. So let's go ahead and let's just take a couple of these sections. I think we'll do like maybe 3 at a time or something. So I'm just going to go here, copy this. We'll just do this, maybe 2 here. So I'm going to copy this, go into Gemini, and I'll be like, hey, let's improve the design. Here's a more thorough breakdown. Mind my spelling. Try your best to follow this. I will keep. Okay, so here, part of my spelling, I said, let's improve the design. And again, you'll start to notice is you want to be iterative with it. Just sitting here and just describing, please fix it or please make it better. It's not going to work. You want to be a little bit more particular in sort of the details. And so while that's running, I wanted to show you just the depth of what you can do. So I'm using Replit in this scenario. The other day, my friend asked, an agency quoted me $9,000 just for the design, and then God knows how much for the actual site out build. So I went to Replit here. You can use whichever one you want. And I was so insanely surprised at how well it did, right? I said, design a storefront for a watch company. Again, I just described it in a little bit more detail. And this took 2 prompts in 5 minutes. It has a working site. Like, I was so impressed that it was able to do this, and behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure they're using Gemini 3. Again, just blew me away. And just to show you that the variety and the capability of the model is so good that you can really create any kind of design or any kind of website if you have the right prompt. Okay, so back here, finished, kind of cleaned up some of the stuff here. We'll go back to the source design. Not bad. Okay, paste that, let it run. I think I put a bit bigger of a prompt than I'd like to, but just for the sake of this, so it just goes a little bit quicker, and we'll let that run. So it makes, added this nice little glass morphism. And then I'm just going to take the rest of this because, again, this is going to take so long. I'm going to let it prompt. So sometimes you'll actually notice is that maybe it doesn't get the specific detail. So what I actually like to do is go to the design that I have, the source design, and just screenshot this. So you can take a screenshot here like that, and then paste it into Gemini here. And then I have the other one, which is this part. So I go take a screenshot of this and paste it in. And then I say, you know, making sure that you're referencing the source image. The first one, please try to create ours more similar. So I'll say, you know, for the code editor, I want it like this. The first one is the super nice glass morphism. Ours, second image isn't bad, but it's too subtle. Please fix. So I like to just tell it, hey, look, you know, the current image is the one that kind of, you know, the first one I sent you is what we want. The second one was what we currently have. Please edit it. And it's a lot better at sort of pinpointing exactly where that is. Some of the sort of, you know, tools let you have a selector. I think the Gemini has one where you can like pick the specific part. But I find that just taking screenshots works equally as well. Sometimes messes up, doesn't get it exactly right, but just kind of iterating it with it kind of gets the job done. So again, I'm just going to ask it to finish the rest. You know, usually you probably want to do this little step by step. So here it kind of got like the thing that I wanted, but not really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here again, copy paste it, give it the source thing, paste it in here, and say, and again, for the code editor, I want this full glass border around, and we'll send that once it's done. And so what you'll start to see as you kind of, you know, iterating on the site is that there is a lot of back and forth, right? It's not, hey, here's the prompt and fix it. Try to start in small chunks. Use any sort of one of these sites. You can use the Gemini site, you can use Replit. And I find that if you're building an actual proper app that you sort of want to deploy, Replit might be better because I feel like Gemini is good for ideating, it's free, but Replit, I think what you could do is you can take the design mode, convert it into an app. But for the most part, again, you have to just be able to speak in more specific detail. And the more detail you give it, the more sort of specifics you give it, the better it is. Try to sort of pick the specific elements and iterate on that. Super happy for me personally. I'm very, very surprised and impressed with Gemini. But overall, this has been crushing it for me personally. This was like some of the best sort of designs I've seen, just the breadth of designs overall. And I'm super, super happy with it. No complaints. And we'll go back to the final design. Got my little animation here. That's all. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Kind of diving into Gemini 3 again. I've been super, super impressed with it. It's not fully there where it's just going to do everything for you magically. But as you can see, I find that it's way better than sort of the AI slop that used to be made. Like, you know, much, much better. And again, it's way easier. Just remember, the more details you give it, the better. Don't be afraid to use other models to sort of help you articulate the differences and the changes that you want. And if you want a real app, you could try out the other ones, or you could just sit there and